Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to the Truly Metal podcast. Oh my gosh, that is a frog in my throat, isn't it? We have to get the frog moving. It is so nice to see you. I am Libby and I am the designer at Truly Myrtle, and I'm calling in all the way down south in the world in New Zealand, where it's just marginally cooler today, and I'm quite pleased about that. It is summer here. And so we keep knitting in the summer. We keep talking about knitting. This is a knitting podcast. I'm also the founder of Wardrobe Toolbox, and Wardrobe Toolbox is like a club. It's like an online club. And you come and find out how to make garments fit you. You find out all sorts of fun little knitting techniques you didn't know you needed to know. And generally, you have fun. You have patterns and knitting and chatter and an inspiration, and it's really, really good. The doors open twice a year in March and in September, thereabouts. So they're about to open. I'm going to talk more about Wardrobe Toolbox in upcoming weeks. Not so much today. Not so much today, but I will tell you more about it. I know a lot of you are in Wardrobe Toolbox already who watch the podcast, but if you're not and you're tempted to join, then I'll tell you all about it. There's going to be lots of opportunities to hear more. Oh, hey everybody. Let me just pull you a little bit closer. The problem is, you see, it's good to be back in the screen, but I can't see your comments, so I have to move you a little bit closer. Let's just organise myself a bit better. Hi, Carol, Steamy and Foggy in the Hunter Valley. Oh my goodness, look at you all. It's so nice to see you all. Lots of Australians today. Oh, good. That's good to hear, Amanda. She's got something finished. Hi, Rebecca. Nice to see you, and Sabrina and Tanz, and lots of Kiwis. That's really nice. I wonder when everyone else is going to get here. Tell me where you're calling in from. I go live on YouTube. We stream onto YouTube, so you know the drill now. I've been telling you for a couple of weeks. I can see you're already doing it. It's really good to put your thumb up on YouTube so that YouTube knows that you like this video, because not only will it show you more of this video. There's Edinburgh calling in. Hi Stephanie, another Australian. It's really nice for YouTube to know, hey, this is a video about knitting that people might want to watch, but also it means it comes into your feed. We're training the machine. So if you're on Facebook, you can give me a like, and if you're on YouTube, you give me a thumbs up. And it also helps if you say follow. Like, I think on Facebook you follow the page or you like the page. I don't remember what the best one is. I don't know. Do whatever you like. And then on YouTube, you can follow the channel. And you can even click a bell, and it'll tell you when I'm going live. So that would be fun. Hey, it's nice to see you all. Hello from the Japanese Alps. Tracy, you're deep in snow. Oh my gosh. And there's Kim calling in from Northern California, and it's a lovely sunny day there. That's really good. So I've got a couple of things to talk to you about. Let me just arrange my hair, because I feel like a bit of a bird's nest today. I've got a little one of those rebounder trampoline things, and Mr. Myrtle and I have started going for a walk in the evenings, and so I've moved my walk. He actually even got new shoes so he could come with me for a walk. I don't know what's happened, but I said to him, I think I'm going to go after dinner, because I'm kind of busy in the mornings, and I'm going to try and do things that are a bit quicker in the mornings. And so he said, I think I said, do you want to come with me? And anyway, he's got himself some new shoes. So we took his new shoes for a spin last night. Oh, that's amazing. Anyway, he said, I don't know what will happen if it gets dark. I said, well, I thought we could just wear head torches, and we could go and head torches. Anyway, he's not so keen on that, but we will see. We'll see what happens. It's a bit dodgy walking in the dark on our road, but anyway, I've already been up this morning, got on my little rebound. I've got this little rebounder trampoline. It's quite nice to have a little jump on it in the mornings. It gets you moving, not for very long, just a shorty. And then I leapt in the pool. So I feel like I've already done something today, and I'm feeling a bit cooler, which is good. Hi Sue from New Hampshire in the States, and hi Catriona from British Columbia in Canada. It's so nice to see you all from all over the world. So I've got a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about today. The first thing is, this was classic. I really enjoyed listening to all your ideas. I got this little girl, this woman. She's not a girl. She's a woman. I mean, she could be an older teen, the size of it. She's a girl. I got this little half-size bust form, and technically she is a half size 12. So I think 12 doesn't mean anything anymore, because it just seems to me that 12 can mean different things in different places. In New Zealand, I used to be a 12 when I was like a teenager. Oh, I guess I was sometimes a 10. But I don't think that's a 12 anymore. I think the 12s are bigger. But anyway, I think this might have been an old, I don't know, it's all very confusing. My advice to you is just go by measurements rather than sizes, because it gets very confusing when we're trying to think of sizes. I know for years and years, as we were growing up here in New Zealand, we'd hear about American sizes. Size 1, size 0, size, I don't know, all these sizes. And we would be like, we're on size 12 down here. I'm not really sure where we fit into American sizes. And certainly when you go and buy shoes here, buying shoes is a bit of a mission, because you have American sizes, European sizes, British sizes. We have all those sizes on the box. That's what Mr. Myrtle had to deal with when he bought his running shoes the other day. All these different sizes on the box. So you have to try and work out what you are. Anyway, I bought this half-size bust form because I thought she would be really helpful for me when I'm teaching inside Wardrobe Toolbox. And she is going to be helpful. She's fantastic. So I can make little samples of things and show them off on her and point to places on her. You know, this is your full bust. This is, you know, we're going to go for the part of our preferred waist. So let's look for our slimmest part rather than our, you know, teapot part. We can talk about the fullness of our hips. We can just talk about lengths and things. Obviously, she doesn't look like any of us, or very few of us, I imagine, because she is, you know, proportioned. She's proportioned. She's in proportion. But actually, she's more than that. She's actually slightly different, because usually, I was measuring her the other day, and patterns, just as an FYI, patterns will expect, and I have checked so many standards recently to double check this, and I can't find any that don't do this. Knitting patterns, the standards that they're based on, will expect that your upper bust, and that's the measurement you take up here, around the top of your bust, that region here, they expect that that is 2 inches or 5 centimetres smaller than your full bust. Well, our little friend has the same bust measurement, upper bust and full bust. So she probably is more, I mean, the thing is, the pattern standards have it no matter the size, but she might be more indicative of some of the smaller sizes where you have more of a similar measurement at the top and the full bust. So I think also she could be like that because proportionately she has a slightly broader shoulder, which in, you know, if you're going to be modeling, if you were going to use this and you're a fashion designer and you have something for the catwalk, then having a broader shoulder, you know, big, beautiful coat hanger, reasonably straight, not too slanted shoulders, is going to be what I think a lot of them are going to be after. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting measuring her, but she's going to be useful. She actually has a stand. I've taken her off the stand. She's got this little stand. She even comes with a little thing to do a hem. But she is just going to be useful just to hold. She's quite light, and she's got her bust is a little bit smaller. I might get a couple of shoulder pads and just pad her bust out. I was thinking she just needs like a little bra. I don't think I'll go that far. It would be quite good though to have a little bra and just pop her bust pads into it, just so she can be a little bit fuller out in the bust, because I think, I mean, although proportionally I think a lot of us might be like that with our tummy and our bust. I certainly am. So I don't know, but I think for some demonstrations it would be good to have a bigger bust. My dilemma that I told everybody about on social media, because miracle of miracles, I thought I'll just start doing little videos, because that's easier for me than fiddling around and taking a photo and having this really, sometimes I'll post photos, but I thought videos are actually pretty easy. I can just shoot a quick video. So if you want to follow me, you can go to Instagram and Facebook and you'll see some little videos I started posting. But I posted a video the other day and I said, what should we call her, this little lady, the little lady in my studio? And oh my gosh, did you have ideas? So I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided. I've read over your comments, but let me just read you some of the ideas. I printed some of them off. I'm just going to see. Oh, good, Rebecca. She said, I'm about to do the button bands for Ginger Bliss. It's so close to finishing. It's the first time doing a cardi or a button band, and I'm so happy because it fits great. Yahoo, Rebecca. That is such good news. It's really good. Oh, and Sabrina has some ideas. Get some reflective slap bands for ankles and wrists when walking in the dark. That's a good idea, because our road's pretty quiet, but when the cars come, they come fast. I thought maybe a or maybe a full-on vest. But I just don't know if Mr. Myrtle will be up for that, and I don't really want to go on my own in the dark, so we'll see. Okay, let me read you some of the names. Minnie Myrtle, as in Minnie Myrtle, and also because my great-grandmother's name was Minnie. Now, I love that name, Minnie Myrtle, but I'll tell you a little story. I think my girls will spit the dummy if I called her Minnie Myrtle. I could ask them. But when they were little, now this is probably, so my eldest daughter is 21 now. I think she was probably about 11 when they did this, 10 or 11. But maybe 12, maybe they were a little bit older. Anyway, they were young, very, very young. We have videos, so they'd get hold of, devices around here, and they'd shoot videos of themselves. I must have already started the podcast. And they would take videos, and the two big girls, honestly, they are hysterical. They are we just laugh and laugh and laugh because, honestly, they're so funny. They take these videos of themselves, and they sit themselves up on the couch. And so my big girl, she's all like this, organised. She gets the knitting, and she sits on that side, and she's like, right. Hi, everybody. We're the Mini Myrtles, and welcome to the Mini Myrtle podcast. She's very organised like that. And then her little sister is down here like this. Little sister. Yep, I'll just do anything she says because I know she's just going to lose her shit at me if I don't do what she says. And so she sits there. Should we say this now? Like this. And she goes, no, we won't say that now. We're going to say that later. Hi, everyone. We're back. So, and they just went on and on like this. It is absolutely hysterical. This little daughter, she's quite feisty now. So she really got her own back. But what is even funnier is the third daughter, who was just a tiny little dot at the time. She is relegated to behind the screen. She's not in front of the screen. She doesn't come in the show at all. And so she's behind the screen, and she's down there organising things. And you can hear a little voice every now and then. They go, I know, yes, I say to her. And then what she does is, at one point in one of these videos, you can see this little body just crawling up the side. She crawls out, and behind them there's a sliding door, a glass sliding door. And you can see the sliding door just open like this, and then this little person just crawls out, and then she crawls out and right into the kitchen and crawls away. And she said she was just busting to go to the toilet and she had to get out. And that, honestly, the whole thing is just, they watch it now and they just kill themselves laughing because they are all just these caricatures of themselves. They were the Mini Myrtles. It's not, probably they'd kill me if I ever put it online. They would absolutely kill me. Maybe when they're much older they would let me. But it's so funny watching them with their little, yes, they've got these little baskets of wool, and yes, well, this is just a lovely yarn. And should we use it for something? No, we won't be using it for, anyway. They go on and on and on. It is so funny. So they were the Mini Myrtles, and I'm not sure if they will want me to call her Minnie, but I will ask. Okay, a couple of people liked that idea. Someone said Lizzie, Libby and Lizzie. People used to call me Liz when I was growing up because, my full name is Elizabeth. And I hated Libby when I was young. I was called Libby, and I just hated it. I thought it was a stupid name. And when I was a teenager, I tried to get rid of it, but people just called me Liz. I think I started introducing myself as Elizabeth, and nobody wanted to call me that. They just wanted to abbreviate it. And so they would call me Liz. And I was, I don't think I'm Liz. I'm not sure that I'm Liz. And Lizzie. And one of my friends, when she teased me, would call me Betty. But yes, Lizzie. Lizzie could work. Meg, she was my favourite from Little Women. Says Joe. Meg was, my favourite from Little Women was Beth, because I always thought I'd rather be called Beth than Libby. That's funny. We got a Matilda, which is one of my daughter's middle names. Betty. We got a Betty. Millie. Winnie. Margaret, because her mum was little. Primrose. Miss Priss. Mabel. Someone says Meg. Another one says Meg. A lot of people say Meg. Maybe we should go for Meg from Little Women. Margot. Sylvie. Eva. Betty, Lily, Adele, Mabel, Dinky. I thought Dinky was really cute. Dinky's quite cute because I was thinking maybe I should call her Dolly, but then I've got that cardigan called Dolly. Daisy, Joe, Florence, Hina. I've got a jumper called Hina. Delilah or Trudy. Marilyn with those curves. Sasha, someone said. Myrtle. She could be Myrtle, couldn't she? She could be Myrtle. Eva, Minnie. Eva is the Hebrew name. Shava or Hava comes from to breathe. Oh, I like that. I wish I knew that when the kids were little, actually, because our eldest is Zoe, and that's life. Our girls have all got Greek names, and they've got life and light and things like that. Minnie. I quite like Minnie. Minnie's quite cute. Another one, Minnie. Poppy, because she just popped in to help me. Truly. See, she could be Truly. But the thing about Truly is, a lot of people think my name is Truly. And so they call me Truly, Truly. Hi, Truly. And so they don't, I think they think my name is Truly Myrtle. And so I'm Truly. Meg, Corrie, or maybe Dale. Corrie Dale. That's really cute. So many suggestions. But Eva... someone said you have a Mr. Myrtle, so why not Miss Myrtle? I think we run into the problems with the actual Myrtle girls, and so I have to ask them, do you mind if we just steal your name? Minnie, Susie, well, that was my sister's name. She's Susanna. Everyone called her Susie. She has managed to get rid of Susie. Nobody calls her Susie anymore. They all call her Susanna. I don't know how she managed that, but she used to be Susie. Myrtle May, that's funny because May's one of my girls' middle names as well. Stella, well, that's actually my boyfriend. It's actually my son's girlfriend, so I couldn't call it Stella. She's lovely. We love Stella. Elizabeth thought Dolly as well. Taylor, as with a Y, for a tailor's dummy. So they were all your suggestions. I don't know what to call her. I quite like the idea of Minnie. She could be Minnie because she is Minnie. And I quite like the idea of Dinky. I quite like those as well. But Meg, she could be Meg, because Little Women. So I haven't decided. I'll come back to you with an idea. I just thought that was really funny to read through all your names. Amanda says she loves those kids' videos from back in the day. Honestly, it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, iPads. What happened before iPads? When they would obviously take an iPad and one of the iPads we actually can't get into anymore. It must have been the original one. We've forgotten the code because we had codes on them all. I don't know how they got in them, but we had codes on them. But I think they used to watch us over our shoulders, and well, I know they did, and get into the iPads. But one of them has got all these videos on it, and we can't remember the code. And so I don't know it just sits there with us unable to get in. And I think we've done it so many times that it just won't let us in anymore. Oh, it's such a pain. We don't want to wipe it. But of course it won't work with anything else anymore anyway. It's so old. Hi, Linda from Wales. Maureen says, I never liked my name because my Aunt M wasn't very nice. But I've been called Morag, Martha and Marion. And these are nicknames from some old friends. Oh, that's quite nice. Yeah, it is funny, isn't it? The name you're given. I've just got used to Libby. I think a lot of people call me Lib. And I don't mind that. I don't mind Libby. It's fine, isn't it? You just get over these things. But as a teenager, oh my gosh, I wanted to get rid of it. I wrote a poem about it at school. I thought it was like a bubble in a bottle. That's what I said. My cat was called Dinky, says Charlotte. Yeah, Dinky's quite cute. Oh, you can't see me in his Elizabeth? I'm such an Elizabeth, aren't I? No, probably not at all. Okay, so I will come back to you. We will think of a name. I might have to talk to my girls about that and see what they suggest. I'm sure they'll have some ideas and look at all your ideas. But yes, I thought that was fun. It was really nice to see all you chatting to tell me what you thought. Something else I wanted to mention real quick before I go on to the questions that you sent me is that I don't know how many of you caught the summit panel I was on last weekend. You can hear I'm at the end of a cold. I managed to come down with a bit of a snotty nose. I actually felt fine, but I just had this sort of head cold going on. And on Sunday morning, when I woke up in the morning, I was quite full of it. And so I still sound a little bit full, but I was quite full of it. So I didn't sound quite normal. But anyway, I was on this panel. I was on the panel with Chantel from Canada, from Knititude is her brand name, is her company. And I was also on with Jackie from the Woolly Badger in the UK. And then Hortense, who organised the whole thing. And so there were 4 of us on this panel. And everybody could come and join live. It was a live thing on Zoom. And it's quite fun because I've done so many Zooms and so many live calls now that I really enjoy them. And I'm quite familiar with, reading the chat and things. So I quite enjoy those sort of things now. I would never have said that once upon a time. But anyway, it was really good. It was about garment modifications and sizing. And it was a whole hour, and all 3 of us had a different different thoughts about things. Because I had done my summit workshop was on waist shaping, and Jackie's was on bust darts. She's a real bust dart person, and so hers was on bust darts, and Chantel's was on taking measurements. Just what measurements should you take when you're choosing a size. And so it was quite good, the three of us. We all designed sweaters, and so it was really good to just be able to chat about things, and it was funny. And apparently it was funny, because people were saying in the chat, oh my gosh, I've had to close the door because my family doesn't know why I'm laughing so hard. Or, everyone's looking at me because I'm laughing so much. This is so funny. So we must have been quite funny on it. It was fun. It was really entertaining. And I think there were some fabulous nuggets in there from everybody who was, chatting, and got to talk to some of the people and answer some of the questions. Anyway, that was a really good part of the summit. I thought it was a great panel. There were a lot of panels that went on over the course of the summit. The 48 hours that you had to watch it live has finished. And so they had I've watched a few of the classes now, a handful of the classes. They were really very good. There's some very good classes in there. And but you can't watch them live anymore, which is a shame. So if you had a free ticket and you missed it, that's a bummer, because the 48 hours is gone. But there are apparently two options, and it finishes, I'm telling you now because it's just about to close. Maybe it is going to extend. I got an email from Hortense, but I think you can still get a ticket. Maybe you can still get your free ticket and then upgrade tomorrow until tomorrow our time. So if you go to trulymyrtle.com/summit, if you haven't already had a free ticket or you haven't upgraded, I'll tell you about that in just a sec, then go to trulymyrtle.com/summit, and you can register, and then I think maybe you just already have to upgrade. You might already have to just buy the first level. There are 2 levels that you can buy, and one just gives you access to all the content, all the lessons, and I believe all the panels, and you get to keep that for your life, right? So that's a really good price for that, just to have that whole shebang of stuff. I think it's something like $47 US. So it's about $60 something New Zealand. It's actually quite a good price. It's the cost of one class if you're going to go to a yarn festival. So that's the first option, and then the second option you can get is called the super pack, and I think the super pack must be $70 odd US. Look, if I've got this wrong, let me know in the chat, because that might have been the the price earlier. I know it went up slightly as we went along, but it's going to be in that region. And the super pack gives you everything that you get in the other packs. You get all of the replays, but you also get this like goodie bag. And the goodie bag has, well, from what I can see, it has at least 24 patterns in it, at least, because I think someone's given 10, someone's given 6. I gave 3, someone else gave 4, I think. There's a whole lot of patterns, and that's just garments, I think. It might be garments and shawls, because the one who gave 10, they might be a whole lot of shawls. There's also 14 days free entry. Okay, cool. So I think it's worth going to the page and just have a little look. So if you go to my page, it's the fastest way in, is go to trulymyrtle.com/summit, and then you can just look on there and click the buttons, and it'll whip you over and you can find out stuff from there. And yeah, I think it would be, if you want to, and of course remember that if you do go through my link, then if you do decide to upgrade, that's the way I get paid. So it's nice if you want to go through my link. That would be great. I'd really appreciate that. You don't have to upgrade. You don't have to do any of this. You just do what works for you. But I think that the super pack, has got I think it's got ebooks, it's got patterns, it's got little tutorials. It's got a ton of stuff. I haven't been through really thoroughly to see, but I did grab a whole lot of patterns myself, because, I love reading a pattern. I love reading how people write knitting patterns and put things together. So I did grab a bunch of patterns I was curious about. And anyway, I wanted to tell you because I think the deadline is tomorrow. What day are we now? 27th. Yeah, I think it's the 28th. Oh, here we go. Sabrina's telling me. 47 US for the first package and 97 US for the second package. She thinks the offer closes on the 28th of February US time. that's what originally was the case. I'll have to check my emails. I have a funny feeling. I'm not sure, but I think tomorrow was the deadline. Is the deadline? It'll say on the website whatever the situation is. So just trust Hortense on that one. So 97. That's a little bit more than 75. I said. I think the 75 must have been the original price, but 97. That must be what's that? Something like $150, $140. I think, is it, in New Zealand dollars? So Australians, you just can take that down a touch. Yeah, anyway, I wanted to just let you know tomorrow. Okay, so let me have a sip of my tea. People are saying it was great. It was like listening to friends having a chat. It was a great panel and summit. And other people are saying it was a great summit. Summit panel was excellent. Yeah, it was. I think it was a really good one actually this time. She really did a good job of it. Hortense organised it all. Okay, I got a bunch of questions from you. I probably won't have time to go through them all, but let's have a bash. What's the time? We might have time to go through them all. Margaret said, I've printed off everything and have 4 bound, very full reference books. Whoa, Margaret, that is awesome. So you've basically got a book. For those of you who signed up those of you who did, I think you get the class notes only if you get the first option of payment. Is that right, Margaret? Do you have to get that? I'm not sure. Maybe you get my class notes. I can't remember if you needed to upgrade or whether you just got it for free. But anyone who downloaded anything from me, whether it was the class notes that went with my class or the free patterns that I gave you, and I think there was a prize. Someone got a prize from me as well. I haven't heard who yet. I have sent you an email. Keep your eyes on your emails because I have a little treat for you in there. Anyway, I've got a bunch of questions. Let's see how many we get through. Now, if you remember, I said to you last week that it would be nice to give you a little taste of what happens inside Wardrobe Toolbox. Now, it's just a taste because in Wardrobe Toolbox, I often have lots of things to show you and reference things, and I really look stuff up. And if you've mentioned a pattern, I go and hunt it out and I'll get a picture of it and I'll look at the projects and I'll just try and be a detective around it. So it is more comprehensive, the answering that I do, but obviously it takes me quite a lot of time to do that. So that's inside Wardrobe Toolbox. But I thought it would be nice to give you a taste of some of our Q&As. And we have a Q&A once a month. We're actually going to increase that. It's going to be a little more often next season. And we have things called fit nights and we have refresh sessions. We have quite a few opportunities to ask questions. And we have our lounge where you can ask questions as well. And you get to ask your questions and then we answer them. I answer them. We answer them. Other members can leap in. We go to the hive mind, all sorts of good stuff. So I thought I'd give you a taste of that. So what I've set up is a page on my website, and if you go to trulymyrtle.com/ask, A-S-K, that's it, A-S-K, trulymyrtle.com/ASK, ask. And there's a form on there, and then you can ask your question, and you can pop in your name, and then you can pop in your question. It doesn't take images, so you can't go sending me random images. That's not going to work. We do that in Wardrobe Toolbox. I can get images from you. So you can show me your knitting, or you can hop on the screen and show me your knitting. We can't quite do that here. But I thought we would just have a taste of it. Okay, so I said that last week, and I got a handful of questions have come in already. So if you have a question, that is the place to go. And what I'll do is every week, I will endeavour to answer as many as we have time for. And sometimes I get a bit chatty around a question because I can see there's a lot to say. So if I don't get to your question, don't panic. I know it's there. I will come back to it. So we'll just do this every week. Okay, the first question, I'm going to go in order. The first question was from Donna. She said, "Hi Libby, what is your favourite sweater cast-off method for a lovely finish? Not too tight, not too loose, the Goldilocks cast-off just right." Well, the first thing that came into my head, Donna, was it depends if we're going up or down. Because I think if we're talking about casting off a neckband, I might have slightly different suggestions to you than if we're casting off a hem. And but because, and there are other questions in here that actually are about necklines, and so I'll just preface them by saying when you're casting off a neckline, be very careful not to do it too tightly. You will not believe the difference a tiny smidge makes to tension for a neckline. you can completely ruin a neckline by making it too tight, and you can also completely save a neckline by making it loose. So it is about finding that Goldilocks. So the first thing I want you to think about is tension. Hi Diane, nice to see you. The first thing to think about is your tension. And I think it's just worth having in the back of your mind, and sometimes bringing it to the front of your mind and thinking about our tension and how is my tension going to turn out the way I want it to turn out? Like I might be knitting and my hands might be wanting to do something else. It's a coordinate your brain with your hands and start being the boss of them so that you can actually knit as loosely or tightly as you want. Now remember that when you're binding off, just a regular bind off where you lift the stitch over, the stitch that you lift over, it doesn't matter how loosely you knit that stitch, you might use a bigger needle, the stitch that you lift over to bind off is going to necessarily pull on the stitch next to it, right? So you might have quite a nice loose stitch next to it, but if you yank that sucker up and pull it over the needle, that one on the other side of it that you've just done is going to be tighter. And so just going to a bigger needle might not help you. I think you need to be very careful as you're working along that you don't interrupt the stitches behind you, and just the one stitch behind you particularly, that you keep an eye on that little stitch and you let it be the kind of looseness that you are after. So that's the first thing I would say, tension. And irrespective of what you're doing, it doesn't matter what stitch technique you're using, concentrate on your tension. Think about what happens when you knit the next stitch to bind off. Is it going to interrupt the stitches behind, and how loose do I need to do that? Let me just have a cup of tea. I can feel that frog in my throat. So in terms of preferred stitch bind offs, I'd still just quite like a regular bind off. I quite like, if I'm doing a rib, to do a knitted, a bind off knitwise and then a bind off purlwise. When you're binding off knitwise, the stitches fall to the front of your work, and so it does give you a beautiful finish of all the stitches like that. So if you see like cardigan button bands, I mean this is all true of cardigans as well, you can really shrink those button bands down or have them quite floppy if you don't get your tension right. But you know how you like my Timely cardigan, I think, is a good example. Did I do it on Timely? I think I did. I think on Timely I did a little tiny ribbed button band, and then I got you to bind off knitwise, which means bind off all your stitches as if you're knitting them. And just the lifting over method. I don't actually say it so much in my patterns anymore, but I used to say quite often use a bigger needle. And you might find that is slightly helpful to you with the tension. If you're consciously using a bigger needle, it just might help you remember. You'll certainly knit the first stitch looser, but just be careful with what you do behind it. Anyway, you bind off knitwise and it leaves this lovely row of stitches that look like that. And I just put a top out in Wardrobe Toolbox actually called Sweet Melody. I'll wear it when the weather cools off again. I'll start wearing it. And it has a piqué folded edge at the top, and you fold it outways, and then I get you to bind it off knitwise. So around the neck you have this little line of stitches like that, and then you stitch it down. Oh, I'm so sorry. My throat is so froggy. Hang on. Let's get rid of it once and for all. It's because I don't really talk much in the morning, and then when I get started I'm so froggy. I'm sure it's my cold. Okay, sorry if you had headphones on. That would have been horrible in your ear. It's not properly gone, but anyway, what happens is you end up with that lovely row of stitches around the bottom of the neckline. So you've got your neckline folded so it looks like that, and then you stitch it down, and so it's a beautiful finish. It has this little line of stitches like that. So when you knitwise bind off, you end up with a little row of stitches. But what happens is the stitches, they fall forward, okay, so that you see those stitches lying like that. If you bind off purlwise, and this is if you're on the front of your work, the stitches fall forward. If you bind off purlwise, the stitches will fall to the back. So when you bind off knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one like that, like in rib, or if it's knit two, purl two, knit two, whatever, if you do in pattern, bind off in pattern, that's what that means, then the stitches will go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. And what happens is, you have to get those mini myrtles to step in for me. I think I will. I think I will. Oh my gosh, they were hysterical. Then what happens when you do forward, back, forward, back, forward, back is your row is actually straight and your stitches end up being on the top. So you don't have any at the front and any at the back. They all end up being more or less straight. So I do quite like that because it gives you a nice straight bind off. Having said that, I think my overall answer to you is I have two answers. My overall answers to you are: one, think about what would look best with what you're knitting, because I don't think there's any one answer. I don't have one answer. That's what I'm telling you. I don't have one preferred bind off. I have a what would look nice on this sweater, or what would look nice on these cuffs, or what would look nice on this top, or what would look nice on the edge of this shawl. I have not one preferred bind off. I have a what would be the best bind off in this situation, and I have a very experimental brain. And so I encourage you to be experimental with what you do. I didn't bring it down. You see, this is where I would have done some preparation before for Wardrobe Toolbox, and I would say, this is a good book that would be good to have, and this is the pattern I'm talking about. I would do that. But I have a book on my bookshelf, and it's called Cast-Ons and Bind-Offs. I think that's what it's called. It's a little book. You can, actually no, that one's a big book, but you can get it in a little size, ring bound, and it has a myriad of cast on and bind offs. Now I know you can go to the internet and you can search, but I actually find it really helpful just to have something on my shelf that I can grab and I can flick open. Now I've said all that, it would be really helpful, wouldn't it, to have some sort of thing pulled together of all the ones that I like and I use. If anyone is watching this who helps me, and any of my team, can you remind me? Because I think that would be a great thing for me to put together. My preferred bind-offs. I've already thought I want to do something about my preferred tools. I'm going to do that. But my preferred bind-offs would be really quite a good one. So I think we could do preferred cast-ons and bind-offs. Cast-ons is going to be pretty limited for me. I quite like probably 4. I probably reach 4, mostly. So I don't know, Donna, I haven't given you a Goldilocks one, but I hopefully have given you some ideas to think about, because I have used everything from tubular bind-offs. I've got a new kind of tubular bind. It's not really a tubular bind-off. It's like a new bind-off that looks a bit tubular that I tried for the very first time in the last sweater that the Wardrobe Toolbox has got, which I think was quite fun. It was easy, nice easy one. I've had ones, where you've done slip stitches and then you bind them off, so that kind of tubular bind off. I've had ones like I've just described to you now. We've had Icelandic bind offs. We've had the stretchy bind offs. We've had all sorts of different bind offs. So yeah, I just go with, what do I feel like? What do I think would look nice with what I'm working on? What would suit the yarn? What would look good in this? What's going to match my cast on? That kind of thing. All right, Annemarie has got the next question. Now, this is a good question, actually, Annemarie. They're all good questions. I'll just say that now. They're all good questions. There's no silly question. Please, ask me all your questions. Annemarie said, I have got this cute pattern for a baby dress that I knit in cotton DK. It has an edge of moss/seed stitch, and then the body of the dress is stockinette. How can I stop the hem from flipping up? Blocking helps, but it doesn't eliminate the problem completely. This is not an uncommon problem, because if you have a top that has a very little hem, and some of mine do, like Paloma, Urchin, I quite like putting a little hem on some of the summery tops, because I think they just suit it. They just suit the little tiny hem. If you have a hem on those little tops, they want to flip up unless you do them tightly enough. So if you're finding that your hem is flipping up, whether it's a rib or a moss or a garter or anything that wants technically to lie flat, but actually the whole hem just goes bloop, like that, I'm sorry to say this, Sue, but lucky it's only a baby dress, try ripping it out and do it with a smaller needle. Because if it's smaller, the tension will be better and it is less likely to flip up. So yeah, I think probably the tension would just be a little bit too different from the body, and it just like that flares. Okay, you want to hold it in. So that's what I would recommend, and then reblock it. You could just steam block it the next time. I don't know if I'd even bother wet blocking it after that, but just steam block it. But again, when you're thinking about the bind off, I just would try and keep it as even as possible with the stitches that I just did. Try and not to make it too tight there and not to make it too loose, because that'll just add another complication into the mix. So, but yes, a smaller needle, I would say. Okay, Sue has asked, how do you reduce the size of a neckline? That's like asking me how long is a piece of string, but I think it's a great question because it comes up so much. How do I reduce the size of a neckline? So I alluded to it a little bit before. A lot of knitters come to me because their necklines are too big and they want to make them smaller. And there are a couple of reasons that I would say, before I even talk about the neckline, that I want you to think about. And one is, are you knitting the right size? Because often when we're choosing a size and it's going to fit us around here, it might be too big up here. And I've said this over and over, and I think it's just worth saying over and over, because it's actually a tricky little conundrum to get your head around, that you want to choose a size that fits you up here, and you might find that if it fits you up here, it's going to be a little tight in the bust, or a closer fit than you were anticipating, or that you really thought you wanted. So you can deal with that. We can deal with that when we get there. We can deal with that slightly before we get there and when we get there. But this part up here, unless you get a neckline that fits you nicely there, it's going to be too big. The other thing I would say is to pay particular attention to the pattern pictures, and not just the designer pictures. Go into Ravelry and look at the projects, or look on Instagram and look at a tag and look and see how that pattern looks on other people, and also look and see how it looks in someone your size. Okay, because you might find that it's just a neck feature of that pattern. It might have been designed to have a slightly bigger neck. So if you're thinking that something has gone wrong with the size you've chosen and your neck is too big and all of a sudden you don't like it, just check those things before you start. Now, when you're checking people's projects, take it with a little grain of salt, because the thing about people's projects is, A, they might not choose the right size. I find that so often they're choosing the wrong size. They're choosing a size that's too big for them. And B, they are not getting gauge. And so if you don't get gauge, then nothing's going to work. Certainly not going to turn out the size that you're anticipating. So just take their projects with a little grain of salt, but you could look and see if they put their gauge in and how different it is from the pattern, or what they've chosen for a size, all of those things. But just check and see, is that neck really meant to be that big? Now, if you've done all of that, and that's fine, that's just an aside really, but you've come back and you're saying, oh, this neck is too big and I'm not really too sure about it. The first thing I would think about is tighten up the bind off. We've got a whole lesson inside Wardrobe Toolbox called Fix, Not Frog, and it's about fixing the necklines on your garments. And so without even frogging it, I mean, you might frog it a little bit, but you don't frog the whole garment. So what I recommend is you could change the bind off, and you could do it, like I said before, remember when we do it a little bit tighter, it yanks everything behind it. Do it a bit tighter, and you might find it pulls it in quite a lot. You might be surprised. Something else you could do is just rip the whole neck off and pick up less stitches and then make it smaller. And another thing you could do is maybe thread a bit of hat elastic through the back. There are other ideas I've got in that lesson, decreases and all sorts of things. Now this is assuming that you have knitted the neck. This is assuming that you're knitting a yoke sweater, because that's often where I will see this, the yoke sweater top down, or you're knitting a raglan. That will assume that. But if you're knitting a yoke sweater, and there's different things you can do for different constructions is what I'm getting at. So let's say you're knitting a yoke sweater, because I often see that first. Knitting a yoke sweater top down and you start with a neckband, puts a lot of pressure on that neckband, and it's going to want to stretch. There's nothing there that's like a seam that's like holding it in place. And I have got some garments that have started at the neckband and worked their way down. So you could do a firmer cast on. Quite often I'll get you to do a long tail cast on. That's a little bit stretchier. But if you want to do a cable cast on, that's a bit tighter. But what I would recommend, if you're having a problem, even if you've already finished the garment, I would pick up all the stitches underneath the neckband, underneath the little ribbing part. Pick up all the stitches onto a tiny needle, the best you can, before you've done that increase row. Or if you can't get it above the increase row, then do it as wherever you can. underneath the neckband, and then work up. And what I would do is I would get myself back to a stitch count that I want to give me the neck size I want. And you might only need to get back to the actual stitch count you already had. You might find this is enough. So you might have to work some decreases to kind of reverse engineer that yoke, and then bind off that neck. Actually bind it off. And we can think then back about our tension. How tight do I want to make it? How loose do I want to make it? And once you've done that, then pick up the neckband and knit it up. And I'd use a very, very fine needle, because I love using fine needles when I'm picking up stitches, and then knit up. And you could either pick up less stitches at that point. So if I'll just go back one little step. If you have already done that, if you've already picked up from the bottom up, or you've done a bottom up sweater and your neck is already bottom up, just go back and pick up less stitches in that part. Smaller needle, less stitches, tighter tension. All of those things, you will be shocked at the difference it makes just to do a few less stitches, or just to knit with a smaller needle, or just to make things a little tighter. You'll be shocked, or just to do that bind off a little bit more firmly. So that's the first thing I would recommend. And to me, often I see this question about a yoke. Okay, my neck, how do I reduce the size of a neckline? I'm going to leave that question there for now, because I've got some other questions about necklines. And to be honest, the question about necklines, this is like, I could sit here all day and I could talk to you all about all the different necklines. And if we're dealing with a drop shoulder neckline, drop shoulder construction, if we're dealing with a set-in sleeve, if we're dealing with a raglan, they all have different aspects to them that affect the neckline. So I'll leave it at that for that question. And if you want to ask me more specifically a question about a particular construction or a particular thing you've done, go for it. That would be great, because then it would help narrow me down. So I just interpreted it that way today, just to, so you can have an answer. Oh, you're a real sweetheart, Lily. She's saying, are there any truly myrtle knitters in the Lake Macquarie, New South Wales area? I've moved from New Zealand recently and I don't know anyone, and it'll be fun to meet up. Hey, Lindley, why don't you pop your you should pop that in the hangout as well over on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, we have a huge pool of truly myrtle knitters over on Facebook in our hangout. So you can just go to the groups. It's a group on Facebook. It's a free group, and I think there's 5,100 members in that group currently. So if you want to go and join that group, that is a great place to say, hey, just moved to New South Wales. Does anyone want to meet up with me? Fantastic place to say that. So yeah, I'd say that too. Ask there. Okay, so we've done Sue. Katie is saying, I might run out of time. You see, I can get a bit lengthy. Katie is saying, knitting with linen. I have some gorgeous Quince & Co Sparrow that I want to make a summer top with. My problem is tension. It's either too tight or far too loose. Do you have any tips? Should I wash or soak it first? Okay. First thing, I just love that yarn, Quince & Co Sparrow. It's a beautiful, beautiful linen. All linen feels a little bit like string when you're knitting it, but I find it's an organic linen. I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but I actually find it really not too hard on my hands. It's quite a nice one to knit with, but getting a good tension can be really challenging with these yarns, because it is like knitting with twine. It can be really challenging. So the thing I would suggest, it's a beautiful yarn. Oh my God, the colours are to die for, aren't they? Absolutely beautiful. I've got some over there in pink. Where is it? Pink. Somewhere over there I've got a pink. I made a top in there. It's, my reef top is like a coffee colour. Yeah, it's beautiful. Anyway, the first thing I would suggest is find a needle that works with your linen. So if you're using a metal needle, you're going to find that the linen is quite slippery on it. If you're using a wooden needle, you're going to find that you have a bit more friction. Now, you could decide, I would swap needles until you figure out what is helping you, because some people will find that they want it to be quite slippery because they're quite a tight knitter, and other people will find that they're quite a loose knitter and they want a little more friction. So it's about finding that happy marriage between yarn and needle. So don't forget, swatch on the same needle that you're going to use for the project. Don't go suddenly wildly changing, because you'll want to know what your gauge is so you can make the size you want and it will turn out the size you want. But find a happy marriage between needle and yarn. I would also practice how I'm holding my yarn, if you have never got to grips with holding your yarn in your hand, I do this with my hand, I do it with my right hand. If you haven't got to grips with holding your yarn and so you have a good tension, if you're always dropping your needle, not physically dropping it, but if you're taking your hand off your needle and then pulling the yarn around and then that is going to make it more difficult for you to have an even tension. Now that's a blanket statement. Some of you are going to have perfectly fine tension because you've done it for so long and that's what you're used to. But generally, if you're letting go of the needle and moving the yarn, it's all just a bit wobbly woo. And so you might find that it becomes a little bit tricky for you. So I would practice how I'm tensioning my yarn. This is not the time to suddenly decide you've got to knit continental when you've always knitted English, or you've got to suddenly learn English when you've always knitted continental. It's probably not the time to do that. So I'd practice my tension. I'd find the marriage between my needles and my yarn, and I'd practice that. You might find that carbons are better. You might even find that plastic needles, like those firm old-fashioned needles are better. Whatever suits you. And then the last thing I would say is, yes, blocking is magic when it comes to linen. It is really good. I think if you have just a tiny tension differences, so that you notice if the yarn is looking like it's freshly knitted and it's just not that even, a lot of that will block out. And the thing about linen, it has fabulous drape and it wears so well. It really relaxes with wear. So I think you'll find that blocking will help. Practice with your swatch. I would do a decent size swatch. I would do it in the round if it's meant to be in the round, or I'd do it flat if it's meant to be flat. And I would block it and measure it before you block it, and maybe even take a photo of it before you block it to remind yourself about how wonky it is, and then measure it after you've blocked it, and maybe even take a photo of that too, although you'll have it kept, won't you? So you probably won't need to take a photo of that. And then you can compare them, and then you can reassure yourself that I'm not crazy, this is going to turn out like this, it's going to be fine. So just, I think some little things like that would really help, because I don't think there's anything, I think little tweaks will make a big difference. So much of this, just little tweaks will make a big difference. So hopefully that helps. Definitely don't wash or soak the yarn first. You won't need to do that. Only after you've knitted it. I just would not soak it first. Some people might have another opinion. Maybe someone has done that. I just think it's another step you don't need to do. It will be fine if you do some of those other things. Have a play with some of those things maybe that I suggested. Oh, there's a couple of people from Ohio. It's nice to see you. Am I wearing a dera? Oh, I'm so rubbish, aren't I, at telling you what I'm wearing? I am wearing a dera. I'm wearing my bigger Adira. I actually pulled out the little Adira and I thought, no, I think I'll wear the bigger Adira. This is technically not my size. This is a really good example of choosing a size because you want a design ease element. Well, I'm not actually anymore, but I used to be a 36 bust, and my other Adira, it was, when I was littler like that. It's the cutest little top. Still fits me fine. Actually fits me beautifully around the top, but it's a little top and a closer fit through the bust, and so the sleeves kind of come up to about here on me. And I had this one made as a sample. It's also silk. It's absolutely stunning. Isn't the colour beautiful? I had this one made for my stand, and it was made for, I think it was a 42-inch bust. I think. Something like that. Anyway, it was about 3, 4, 5 sizes bigger than my original size that I would have chosen if I was choosing something to fit me around here. But I loved it. I loved it. I love the colour. The neck is quite big on me. And the hole, certainly, I mean, that is indecent. That's why I wear something underneath it. But I love the fullness of it. I just absolutely love it. And it's silk, so it falls beautifully. The colour is great. And so I just make it work with something underneath it. But it's Adira, A-D-I-R-A. Yeah, she's a really pretty little, and this is so much fun to knit, this little hole. When the smaller sizes, they don't have a hole this big. The bigger sizes, because you've got a fabulous bust to put out, underneath that hole. It's proportional, the hole, for all the sizes. Okay, let's have a look. What's the time? We've got time for one more question. I'm going to come back to the other questions next week. And keep throwing the questions in, and then I'll always come in. I know, it matches my glasses. I got new glasses, Charlotte, because I'm just hopeless with glasses. I keep breaking them. You'll prepare to see many glasses. I've decided to really stock up so that I have lots of glasses, so I don't ever get into a situation where I can't see. Okay, Louise has said, Libby, I've knitted myself a vest. It's a round neck, but I feel the neckline is a little bit high. I did try it as I went, and I thought it was okay, but now in wearing it, I feel a bit constricted. It's striped, so I don't want to frog back and alter the actual neckline. My first thought is just to pull back a few rows of the ribbed band and have just less rows, and then match that on the armhole. But I just thought I'd ask if there are any other ideas before I start. I'm not sure what the construction is of this one, but it does sound like she knitted the neckline last, doesn't it? And so you could make the, I don't want to frog back and alter the actual neckline. It's just to pull back a few rows of the ribbon. I'm unclear about what the neckline is, and I'm unclear about the construction. So, because it might make a little bit of a difference to me if I know what the construction is. However, let's just have a little look. I think if you have a high round neck and the neckline feels a bit high, sometimes they can do that when your shoulders are rolling forward as well, because everything, if your shoulders go forward, everything just starts, you've got a little bit more length in your back, and it starts eating into what's happening at the front. And so dropping the neckline can really help, but so can putting some short rows into the back of your shoulder. So there's a couple of things you could think about next time, and certainly assess your own shape. You can see my shoulders roll forward. I have forward rolling shoulders, and I certainly have them more now than I used to. Got to sit like that, right? Roll my shoulders back. I keep practicing to roll my shoulders back because they're really getting rolled forward. It's all this computers and devices and just age. Age will do it. Just roll our shoulders. And some of us have a forward rolling shoulder anyway. So, but just in terms of doing something really quickly, I think I would also assess, just based on what I said before about the bind off, because you might find that the bind off has just pulled everything in a little bit much. If you have just a little more room there, it might help. So I'm just trying to think of things that so you don't have to rip out the whole thing. If it's knitted from the bottom up, you could add a little bit of short row shaping to the top of the neck, or just adjust that neck a little bit at the front. It might be worth it if you wanted to do that. But if you don't want to do that and it's knitted differently and you just want to adjust the neckline, then I would take it off. For a start, I'd just take the whole thing off. Take the neckline off and just think about it again. You might want to pick up a few more stitches, because the idea is maybe we'll just give you a little bit more width, and then that would help you just feel a little bit less like it's too high. It might not, but it might. And then you could either cast on a few more stitches, use a slightly bigger needle. I would definitely knit it shorter. And so maybe even think about redoing it altogether, totally different neckline. Maybe put an I-cord on it and have basically no bind off. You could do a pick it up, bind it off. So you really just get rid of the neckline. It will depend on your actual vest and what it looks like and whether it will suit that. But I mean, you could lose that much depth. You might have, I mean, your neckline might be that long, I don't know. But you could lose quite a bit of depth, which would give you a bit more breathing room through here. So I think I'd start by taking off the neckline and then rethinking it. And Amanda said consider doing a rolled hem as well. Yeah, that would be nice actually. So you could just pick it up and you could either do a teeny tiniest little bit of rib, or you could do a garter row, and then you could knit reverse stockinette, and so it rolls back. No, normal stockinette, and so it rolls like that because it wants to roll towards the front. So you could do all of those things, I think. Could make a bit of a difference, just shorten that neckline. But if I haven't answered your question and you have more specifics that you want to tell me, then that would be great, and then I could think about it a little bit more. But sometimes those high necks our shoulders have an effect as well. So it's worth us all thinking about rolling our shoulders back, me included, and then what can I do to help me fit my shoulders? And maybe you just don't even like it so high. I don't like things high, really, really high. I just don't like it. I don't mind a rolled neck, a soft funnel neck. I don't mind it, but I don't love it. So maybe that's you as well. Tracy says, how's the weather? It's very grey today. It might rain, which we desperately need some rain. We really do. So if it rains, it might be quite good. Our poor veggie garden is just, so dry. And actually our fig tree is covered in figs. And I said to Mr. Myrtle last night, do you think we should just put the hose on that and let it drip on the fig tree? Because there's so many figs, but they haven't really plumped out yet. And I love figs, and I just want them to plump out. And I'm feeling like it should have rained, and it hasn't rained. And maybe they need a little bit. They don't need too much rain. I've already learnt that lesson. One summer it rained, and they were terrible. But I think maybe they need a little happy medium. Okie doke. Well, that was the end of the questions, I think. I've got a bunch more here. Keep sending them to me. You just go to trulymyrtle.com/ask. Let me know if this is helpful, because I don't want to do something if it's not helpful. Just tell me if you are enjoying the questions. If you are, give me lots of thumbs up for YouTube. That would be great. And tell me in the chat. You could please leave comments. I love reading your comments. I read all your comments. So I try and answer the comments on YouTube. Sometimes I'm a bit slow, but I do try and answer them. Facebook gets me a little confused because the comments just carry on from the live. And so some of the questions I know I've already answered, I've already spoken them to you, so I don't answer them again. And then I get confused about where that finished. So I'm better on YouTube. With answering the questions, because the live chat isn't saved as far as I can see. I can't see the live chat later. But if you're watching this later and you write a question, I will try and get back to you, and I'll always read it. So give me a thumbs up if you like the question part. Tell me if you do in the comments. That would be really helpful. And if you do have a question, just fire it off to me, and we'll do this again. We'll just do it every week, I think, because I think I can just do a few every week, and then we can hopefully get some quick tips out to you. But like I said, it's just a little taste of what we do inside Wardrobe Toolbox. And so inside Wardrobe Toolbox, I really, love doing a deep dive into some of the questions, and it's really interesting for all of us. I think you can learn a lot by listening to other people's questions, and it's really helpful for me. And often people ask about other patterns. I don't here in Truly Myrtle podcast, I'm not going to I'm not going to dissect someone else's pattern for you. But in Wardrobe Toolbox, we will talk about other patterns, and I'll have a look at them. And if I own them, I can look at them. We don't share patterns over there with each other, but I can certainly look up all the information I can get hold of. Amanda says, I love it. It gives me ideas to think about for my knits also. Yeah. Oh, good. You're so far. Oh, good. You like the Q&A. That's good. What's my favorite t-shirt pattern? Oh, gosh, Tracy, I'm not sure. Do you know the last t-shirts I made? I've made kind of sloppy. Do you mean knitted or do you mean sewn? Because sewn, I generally cut one off a t-shirt I like, and I made myself, which is quite a few years ago now, I made myself a little pile of t-shirts, and I just cut a pattern off another t-shirt, and then I adjusted it. My favourite one had sleeves down to there. It was really nice. Actually ended up just falling apart over the years, but yeah, I didn't like that one. It was quite a nice thick. Oh, my own pattern. Oh, my favourite, like a summer top. My favourite summer top of the ones I wear. I'm thinking probably Paloma. I think at the moment it's Paloma. I think that might change because I'm doing a new one at the moment. But Paloma, I love that top. I really do. It's great. It's my grey one, and it has the lace panel that comes down the side, and it has the panel that flows into the sleeve. It has a nice fullness in the body. The fabric feels good. That I wore that yesterday. No, did I wear it yesterday? No, I wore Reef yesterday. I wore it this week. I did wear it this week. I really like that one. I think that one's just jumped into my head first. But I do love wearing this. I feel very good when I wear this. I love the colour, I think. But yeah, I've got quite a few now. I'm getting more. So, but yes, Paloma. Today I'm going to say Paloma. Tomorrow I might say something different. Okay, everybody, it was so nice to see you all. Have a really, really happy week. I will see you same time, same place next week for lots of knitting chatter. Don't forget, if you want to grab the upgrade for the summit, you can just go to trulymyrtle.com/summit. And if you want to ask me a question, /ask. And if you want to jump on my mini mag, which is a lovely way to stay in touch with me, you can go to trulymyrtle.com/mini mag, and you can sign up. And that's just a weekly, it's like my weekly chat to you in your inbox every Friday morning. Okie doke, everyone. I will catch you later. Do lots of happy knitting, and see you soon. Bye.